Hi, I'm Fiona, the Singer's Biz Coach, covering all things singing, including mindset, marketing, and monetization. If you've been following me for a bit, then you know I talk a lot about the shift I made in seeing every audition as an opportunity and not a competition. But not just an opportunity to be in a new show or get cast, outcomes you have no control over, but an opportunity to perform at the audition itself, and to make new friends and reconnect with older ones. I've also created a free audition guide just for you. There's a link in the description below. So, my last two videos specifically covered the combination of mindset and practical strategies you need to book roles and feel great as you walk out of the room. But over on Instagram, someone called me out. She said, "Fiona, that's great. Let's treat each audition like an opportunity. But what should we do when we blow them? Like really objectively, we blew the audition and now the opportunity is gone." So this video is for her and for you too if you've ever felt like you blew your chance. I know I sure have. Tip 1. Be clear that your perspective on what happened is not actually reality. All performances, including auditions, are subjective. In other words, one person's heaven is another one's hell. One person's rave is someone else's pan. Here's a personal example. I remember an audition for Into the Woods, one of my favorite shows ever. I really wanted to be cast. I'd taken some time off to have a baby, and this opportunity meant finally getting back on stage. I sang my 16 bars and was absolutely sure I'd bombed. I thought I'd sounded really bad. I thought the panel couldn't even look at me. I was that sure they were talking to each other about how I was going straight into the no pile. I literally hung my head as I dragged myself out of the room. But this time I had a secret weapon. My then singing teacher had been encouraging me to record my auditions by sneaking my recorder into my bag and pressing record right before I went into the room. Later, I would play these recordings for him. Sometimes he would comment on the sound of my footsteps and how indicative they were of my overall state. But that's another story for another time. When I got to my car, I listened to the recording, basically to confirm my worst suspicions. But what I heard on the recorder was not what I'd heard inside my head. Not only did I sound fine, but at the end of my audition, the musical director had actually said, "Great job." I literally didn't hear him. I was shocked. He sounded like he'd meant it. And he must have meant it because I got the call back and ultimately booked the job. Don't ask for a do-over. So based on tip 1, I think we can be clear that you should generally not ask for a do-over. Now, I don't mean that you can't start over if you and your accompanist, for example, are completely out of sync. However, if you just have a vague sense of dissatisfaction, do not broadcast this to the decision makers. Because again, as with my example from Into the Woods, they may have thought you did great. You definitely don't want your doubts to cloud their judgment. 3. Remember, it's not your business to judge your art. Your job is simply to show up and do the best you can in the moment. In general, artists are way too hard on themselves. We're always our own worst critics. I discussed this problem in my video about how to engage on social media when you're an introvert. And in that video, I mentioned the book, The War of Art by Steven Pressfield, link in the description below. Pressfield makes a number of great analogies, and one of them is his definition of a professional. In his mind, a professional is the one who sits down, he's a writer, to do the work. Pressfield actually schedules his writing time and sits down to write, regardless of what he does or doesn't have to say. No excuses. Maybe the writing is bad, doesn't matter. His job, as he sees it, is to show up to write. Your job is to show up and sing. In neither case is there room to judge the art itself. Mind your own business, the business of singing. Let the producers figure out whether or not you're right for their version of the role. When you feel badly after an audition, in fact, when you feel badly about anything, ask yourself if you can find the gift. What's the gift in this circumstance? I know this sounds crazy, and when you're really low, it's incredibly hard to believe anything positive could be hidden inside a negative experience. But I promise you, this mindset shift is a real game changer. Here's a real example from my own real life. In 2009, I was hospitalized for bacterial meningitis. I ended up in the ICU and could have died. I lost a ton of weight and it took a long time to regain my strength. But do I wish this had never happened? No. To this day, I'm immensely grateful for this health crisis because it shone a light on areas of my life and ways I'd been living that weren't serving me. Specifically, it helped me realize that I was working too hard for too little reward. In fact, it helped me to realize I was living under the cloud of the starving artist mindset. Was this my last health crisis? No, nor was it my first. But each time I've been faced with a serious illness, I've chosen to find the gift. And because of this, on the other side, my life has actually improved. So applying this concept to a disappointing audition, look for the gifts of information. Ask yourself, how can I show up differently next time? Analyze your choices leading up to the audition. Were you self-sabotaging? Maybe you stayed out too late the night before. Maybe you didn't eat breakfast. Maybe you didn't give yourself enough time to prepare. In these cases, the gift would be your new understanding of how to improve next time. Maybe the drive to the audition was too long and stressful. In that case, you'd realize that you don't want to do auditions that require a drive over 30 miles. Or maybe the show itself would have taken you away from your family for too long a period. Or maybe the opportunity would have been a nightmare and you just didn't know that this particular agent, manager, theater company were toxic and the universe saved you from some serious unpleasantness. Or maybe 2 weeks later you get offered an even better opportunity that you would have had to turn down if you'd been cast at the audition you think you blew. My point is to trust the universe. We can never know all the forces happening behind the scenes that make us align with one opportunity over another. What you can do is trust the universe has your back, and timing is always perfect. Always celebrate your auditions. In fact, always celebrate your failures. I'll never forget my first level 1 improv class. I've actually taken level 1 many times at many different improv schools because level 1 is all about discovery and self-acceptance. For me, it always feels liberating. But this particular class at Bay Area Theater Sports in San Francisco taught me something extremely important. It taught me how to fail loud and proud. In fact, we practiced failure and built a celebratory failure response into our bodies. This is what it looked like. I failed! Sometimes I'll add a happy dance at the same time. What is failure anyway? I recently realized that every time I click public on my YouTube video, I then throw my arms into the air and say, yes! I knew I was doing this. I knew it was somehow a celebration. But only recently did I realize that what I was actually doing was celebrating my failure. What do I mean by this? I mean that as a perfectionist, I could say I'm a recovering perfectionist, but that would be a lie. So, as a perfectionist, literally everything I do is a failure because perfect doesn't exist. I'm chasing something unattainable. So every time I put a new piece of content out there into the world, I celebrate my personal failure. I did it. I created something imperfect and thus human and thus valuable. What is failure? Failure is risk-taking. Failure means you showed up. Failure means you took action. Failure means you took a step closer to your dreams, goals, vision. Failure means you faced your fear. Celebrate your failures. Even if your failure means you blew an audition, celebrate the fact that you showed up and that you took a risk. And definitely download my free audition guide, which covers 22 mindset and practical tips for nailing your next audition. Link in the description below. Similar to tip 5 about finding the gift, consider that God may have a different plan for you. We can never really know all the ways in which the stars align to help us rendezvous with the exact right opportunity at the exact right time. I believe in free will, but I also believe there's a force greater than our personalities and our ego. It doesn't matter to me what you call it. Source, the universe, God, the goddess, the force, love, oneness. Call this benevolent, loving energy whatever you want. Just remember it's there. It's on your side. It's guiding the opportunities that come your way. For whatever reason, this particular audition didn't work out the way you'd hoped. But by showing up, you're building momentum. By focusing on the bad feelings of blowing it, you're essentially creating a disappointing reality. If you can shift your perspective to one of trust and faith, however, your current reality will feel so much better. And when you feel better, it's so much easier to recognize the very real alternative opportunities that are right in front of you. When I first started YouTube and began to move my business online, I was frequently reminded by my own business coach that YouTube is a marathon and not a sprint. I love this reminder. Have you heard the saying that we overestimate what we can accomplish in a year, but underestimate what we can accomplish in 10? It's the same concept. Your career, your life is a marathon, not a sprint. It doesn't require one big burst of energy and then it's over. You'll have hundreds of auditions and performances. Some good, some bad, some off the charts, some bombs. My point is that blowing one audition won't matter at all in the overall scheme of your life. And when you start to implement some of these tips, you'll even start to see these failures as steps along your own path to fulfilling your own dreams. Reframe your concept of failure, because you literally are in charge of how you perceive your reality. And speaking of fear and failure, I'm going to give vlogging another try, so hit the notification bell because next week I'll be back with another vlog. If you found this video useful, please go ahead and like it, share it, subscribe to my channel, and definitely let me know in the comments below what other topics you'd like me to cover to help you with your singing career. Since you watched to the end of this video, I'm guessing you're interested in auditions, so you'll definitely want to check out the other videos in this series. Now, as always, go out into the world and let your light shine. You deserve to be heard, and the world deserves to hear you.